We need to thank the Dollamore Foundation, the Lake City Creative Alliance, the Ron McNair Life Center here. This is a great place to have it. Dale Smith, I can't say, and he's great. I mean, he's fantastic. He's got another display. So y'all need to walk on over across the street when we're done. Also, this guy right over here with baseball cap. He's the intern. He's a senior at Francis Marion and the president of his honor society.
No, that's for us.
Okay. And thank y'all for coming. Y'all are the reason why we're here, you know. Actually, we are. Got to know if anybody's born here, across the street. We have about 233 people that have already said they were born over there. So if you know anybody, please let us know. We got some forms across the street. Fill them out, please. We'll be talking about what was happening in Lake City in 1918, 1919. We'll be talking about movers and shakers. The happenings, and anytime y'all want to just blur out, go right ahead. Okay? Question and answers will be at the end. Lake City leads. This is Main Street in 1950, around 15. Our little town is waking up. Lord, it was waking it up. And let's see. Last time, I forgot to get this slide. Mr. Marshall Tommy came to Lake City in 1917. Y'all know Sonny Tommy. Y'all know Abe Tommy's daddy. I can't pronounce his name. Napkiel. This guy, Craig Tommy's grandfather, knew 5 languages and could speak fluently with these 5 languages. So that was something. I had a band director. His name was Captain Bill. Would you believe that he played for John Philip Sousa during World War I? This is Eugene T. Moore Sr. Last time we talked about Mr. Moore at the end of the program, and Mr. Dollamore said that her grandfather went to Carlisle Military College and then went to Academy and then went to the Citadel, and then in World War I, he was a sub chaser. And they would rescue white Russians. Who were white Russians? That's a drink. But no. Who were the white Russians? You had the red Russians and the white Russians. The red, right, Miss Hannah. The red were the communists and the white were the people that were against the Bolshevik Revolution. Second call for soldiers in Lake City, and about wiped out all the young folks or young men in Lake City. What is that going to cause? We'll find that out in a minute. Mr. Randolph Gravely, he was a pilot, and that's Randy Gravely's grandfather. So we tying people tonight to our grandfathers, okay? 1918, we have the election. Mr. Stephen Rogers was our first police chief. Now he's mayor. We had S.W. Gowdy. Y'all know who S.W. Gowdy is? Well, we got who? Trey Gowdy's great-grandfather lived in Lake City. Got W.W. Singletary, and Miss Mary Driggers, his father, was Mr. Singletary. Mr. Severance, of the Severance family that later on moved to Florence. Mr. Hayden McKenzie was Carlton McKenzie's father. Mr. J.P. Matthews. Mr. Bangs was the police chief. Mr. Collins was the night policeman. And next time in May, I'm going to tell you about the police force. Mr. Billy Whitehead was Miss Rachel Henry and Mr. Edgar Whitehead's father. And Mr. Starvey. And Mr. Starvey is the father of Mr. Fred Starvey, that was the cashier in 1934. I can't tell you any more than that right now. We are renovating the old True Luck Hotel, okay? A fine brick hotel. J.M. True Luck began in January of 1918, and it's Woody's and Moot's grandfather. I hope you can figure out this thing. On the bottom of the two pictures is a map of Lake City in 1913. The arrows will point to the different stores in town. The picture to your left, the wooden stores, and then we have the brick stores to your right. Fire broke out on March the 14th and burned Mr. Henry Knackman's store and Mr. B. Wallace Jones's store. Now, B. Wallace Jones's store is where Harry, where he works, okay? And then Mr. Surgeon. Mr. Surgeon was Miss Julia Parker's father. So by 1919, we have two brick buildings where Whitehead Drugstore was, okay, and where More Than Wise was. Castor oil seed. How many of you used to take castor oil when you were a child? No. It was a lubricant. Would you believe that we got Philip Powerhead, which is a lawyer, and also the food administrator for Williamsburg County, pushing the farmers to grow castor oil. But they found out that castor oil was a lubricant for the airplanes during the war. We were going to lick the Kaiser and win the war because we grew castor oil. Now, you know, this thing about fake news, it happened back in 1918 too. Okay? February the 6th. A $500 tax on chewing gum or vending machines that paid a bonus. Now, in the paper, it said that the town council shut down the slot machines. Sound like we were a bunch of gamblers, didn't it? Okay? Now, in the red is the day's prices. So $500 was worth $8,200 at the time. Then if you had a dog, you had to pay $1 for a license. And then the gasoline sales tanks. And Lake City had a bunch of them. I mean, everywhere you turned around, they were sinking in tanks.
Are they still,
And I dare say where some of them are,
are they still there?
okay?
Are they still sunk?
Some of them are. Then we had the city council prohibiting parking between Church Street and McAllister Street. Church Street and McAllister Street, which is the whole West Main and East Main.
On Main Street, you mean?
All Main Street was prohibited. No park, no. Okay, and then we had a stop sign from Jones Street, which is South McAllister Street, to Main Street, and had a stop sign. Old Saul's Stable, Mr. Spann wanted to enclose, and we're working on that on the north side of Saul Street. So we're working on that. So that building was built where Anderson Fowler was, if you know where Anderson Fowler, okay? That building was Old Stable at one time. Would you believe that the city council and the Commission of Public Works stopped their meeting because they had a meeting at the Methodist Church? And then they taxed the electricians, the plumbers, and dealers of electricity $10, $165 today. Oh. Okay. Woody, I told you last Wednesday I was going to tell you when your grandfather's hotel was. Jot it down, April the 29th or 28th. And it was a big time. Okay? The Red Cross had a banquet. Would you believe that during that banquet, Mr. Trudeau gave a complimentary dinner to 700 people? And they collected $400, which is $6,600 a day. Okay? But it's amazing, 700 people, and the population of Lake City in 1920 was 2,000. So we had a place that held 700 people. Class of 1918, 7 people. One of the guy in the middle was called Doc Carter, which is Mr. Clinton Carter's father. Then we had the Florida Groceries that came up with a new charter, no relationship to Marion. And then the Motor Sales Company, a car dealership, discontinued less than a year after it started. Now we're going to have a new car dealership in a few minutes now. Okay. Remember 1918. Mullins and Lake City were calling each 1,000 men, women, and children to work at the Stingeries, which was the Imperial Tobacco Company. Okay? October, the flu hit us. Had 50 cases, and 5 of the 50 died, and they were all black. The Spanish flu was the deadliest in history. 500,000 people were affected, 1/3 of the population of the world was affected. And we had 675,000 Americans to be affected by the flu. So to answer your question, yes, sir. And these were the ladies of Lake City. I have no clue to who they are. But, you know, we talked about the Harlequin Hotel. That's the ruins of the Harlequin Hotel. This is Mr. Caldwell's store, which is where Eddie Epps's Fairview Framers is. And right beside there is a barber shop. Had another fire in November the 18th. What happened? Now, y'all ought to know this. On November the 11th, 1918, at 11 o'clock.
What next?
The signing of the armistice that ended World War I. November the 11th. 11. Okay? Lake City had to celebrate. So what happened? They had a big old bonfire in the back lot behind Michael's. Okay? Thing got out of hand. The wooden building of Mr. W.T. Askins was burned. Okay, Flowers and Neesmith Company, which was the forerunner of Mr. W. Flowers. Okay, and somehow or another, all the whiskey in town was at this express office, vanished.
Never say.
Now, we had a shaker, and the people that been coming know A.H. Williams, Dr. Asbury Williams. His great-grandson was Asbury Williams, that was a doctor here and moved to the beach. Okay. Came to Lake City in 1882. He married Viola Fulmore, the daughter of Dr. John Fulmore. He was a physician. He established the first permanent tobacco warehouse. Established A.H. Williams and Company. 1900, after 18 years of being a physician, he retires. He runs for the Senate, was a senator from Williamsburg for 16 years, president of the Smith and Williams Company, which is located where Joe Richardson's insurance company is, right beside it. He was a surgeon for the Atlantic coastline, chairman of the Democratic Party, and president of the Bank of Lake City. Very important person. Okay?
So Lake City was in Williamsburg County at that time.
Lake City was in Williamsburg County at the time, right? Now we're going to have City Council voted now to have 2-year terms, 1919, 1920. Mr. Billy Whitehead, father of Mr. Edgar Whitehead, is mayor. A.W. Parker, Miss Julia Parker's husband. Dr. Neesmith, which is Miss Catherine Neesmith, who is the founder of Lake City library system. Mr. McIlvain, which is Mr. Jim McIlvain's father. Mr. Severance again. Mr. Lloyd Trueluck, which is Woody's great-grandfather, great-uncle. And S.W. Gowdy. And J.L. Richardson, which is Jane's grandfather. So we have a new slate of officers now. The Humpmobile. James Vernon Carter come to Lake City in 1918. He is dealing with freezers and refrigerators, and he and Mr. Lloyd Carter come together and sells automobiles. And that's Mr. Harris Carter's grandfather.
You put a lot of Belco units in some of these older plantations around here too. That was the other thing that he did.
The class of 1919 had 3 people to graduate, 2 women and one male. Miss Sarah Lou Johnson was Mr. Leon Johnston's sister. Wyman King was Hayward King's uncle. And the amazing thing is, 3 graduated, but 2 didn't. 2 of them got state diplomas. 1 of them didn't. The newspaper didn't say who did not get it. I say that this is the first female pioneer of Lake City. H.H. Singletary's wife. Actually, H.H. Singletary did a lot for Lake City. Henry Horace Singletary. You know, the Postons married the Postons, and the Hannahs married the Hannahs, and the Moores married the Moores. The Singletaries married the Singletaries. Okay? Miss Irvin Singletary, Irvin Street, named after her, was the daughter of John D. Singletary. They bought all the land in and around after Aaron Graham died in Lake City. And because she was a woman, what happened to the land? The husband got it. So the husband took it. Okay? But after the husband died, she started building buildings too. Okay? So I rest my case about Miss Irvin Singletary. John Sidney McLamb, Sam Make's great-grandfather. He was also a leader in Lake City. He was a merchant. He was the president of the Farmers and Merchant Bank. J.S. McLamb Company. And where was this J.S. McLamb Company, Sam Mack, today? Doritos. Okay? And he established the Ritz Theater. My brother Jamie took me to the Ritz Theater one time, and that was it. I saw a rat, and the rat's shadow was as big as, and I ran out to the, all right, 99 years ago, we had the Waterworks. 98 people voted, 20 was against. 99 voted, 21 was against the sewage. What? Who would be against the water and the sewage? The reason why the water and the sewage will only extend through the business section of town. So this section of town wouldn't get the water or the sewage. It already applied to the business district of the town. Okay? 96 hydrants, 100,000 gallon tank and tower, and I think it was torn down a couple of 3 years ago, and it was Pastor Rob down at the so-called corner of 52 and Church.
Jim, where was the concrete reservoir?
It's still there. Where is it?
Harry,
It's still there.
it's still where?
Church Street, Pastor Rob over there.
Okay. And then we had the sewage disposal plant. All right, how much is this going to cost us? $150,000. $2 million. We put the bond up. Okay. And work will begin in 30 days. In 1919, we were the largest tobacco market in the state. We beat Mullins and Timminsville. But would you believe a total of 5 million pounds of tobacco grown in 1 month at the price of $1.5 million, equivalent to $21 million in 1 month. That's amazing. And then we had the cotton, the Lake City Cotton Association was formed, and Mr. Joe Dew was in charge of it at one time.
Did they process cotton here?
Yeah. Lake City boy is honored. Now, why was he honored? That nut would jump from foxhole to foxhole, foxhole, from the headquarters to come to the headquarters to deliver a message. So when he came home, we gave him a big celebration. Got a Purple Heart, got injured, and then the Silver Star. That's John Hoover's uncle, if you know who John Hoover is. This is Mr. Luther Whitlock's letter to home. And you can't hardly read it, but I read it. He said that they were on the move, but he couldn't tell where. And he signed his name. This is a request form, and then his discharge paper. This is Harry Whitlock's uncle. Daddy. Got to tell a little story about Mr. Luther. In 1930, Mr. Luther became a member of the House of Representatives. He went up to Columbia. He had 3 little boys, and they went to sleep with his daddy all three of them, all four of them pile together and go to sleep. Well, Mr. Luther went to Columbia, and the first night he couldn't sleep. Couldn't figure it out. Second night he was still up there and he couldn't get hardly anything done. Didn't have enough sleep. Second night he couldn't sleep. Third night he got a warm glass of water and put it in the bed, and he slept like a log. And that came from Mr. Hairwillock. Now, these are the list of the 100. I was trying to get as many people that fought during World War I, the casualties and the wounded. A lot of them I don't know. I have no clue to who they are.
Would the disease have been the flu, the Spanish influenza? Would the disease have been the flu?
Yes, yes. Okay. The Baptist Church. The picture to your left, the wooden picture, is the second building. It was built in 1858. The Baptist Church is where it is today. The cornerstone was laid, and if any of y'all Baptists want to find out where the cornerstone is, it's to the left of the church, okay, at the Mount Clare Baptist Church on Peachtree Street. The Baptists gave that building to the blacks on Peachtree Street, the Baptists of the Black Baptists of the town. And it's still,
By my house now? It's the same one that's out by,
yeah,
41?
yeah, that's Mount Clare. That's Mount Clare. They sold it to another Baptist church. But it's still standing today. Probably the oldest standing building in town.
Where is it now? Where is it?
On Mount, it's on Peachtree Street, off of 9th Street
Today?
today.
Okay.
I think it's bricked in now, isn't it? It's bricked in, you don't actually.
Yeah,
do it anymore.
it's brick, right, yeah. The Third Bank of Lake City was called the People's Bank of Lake City. J.M. Truelock was the president. Mr. Sid Rittenbaker, y'all know who Mr. Sid Rittenbaker is? Margaret Farven's husband and Sid Rittenbaker's father. And Mr. Lynch Carter again. Okay. Okay, next time I'm going to tell you about Mr. Lynch Carter. Okay. Got any questions?
You mentioned Mrs. Wallace Jones earlier in a slide. Was she related to Wilbur Jones that the American Legion HUD is named for?
Remember Mr. Arthur Jones with the clerks?
Yes.
That's his mama.
Okay.
Okay. Please go over and across the street and talk to Dale. Now, we are going to not skip April. This is the May meeting. But in April, some people have talked me into doing this. Francis Man and the Ring of Fire. It'll be on April the 23rd, Monday night. Thank y'all so much. Anybody have any more questions?
Yeah, I was actually, anyone got any more questions? So any of the raffle announcers, the guys that you call them movers and shakers, what about the guys that kind of got in a little trouble, along the way? Who do we have in the town that we can look back and say, well, that was our embarrassment when he got famous anyway?
I tried to come up with something about that in May. Okay?
Always ask it. Here we go.
Anybody else? We have refreshments across the street, and Dale has another display, so please look at it.
Is it upstairs or downstairs?
Downstairs. Okay? Thank y'all for coming.